if you were to go back, Faith, like 6 years ago, before you got into medical school, and you were to give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Before medical school.
Mm.
Yeah, before I go into medical school, if I was to give myself a piece of advice.
Yeah, I know what you know now.
Yeah.
What would you have told yourself back then?
I would have told myself, I don't know whether this is a common one, but I actually would have told myself, like, take it easy, like, don't stress. Because I feel like I did stress a lot, like, trying to, yeah, sometimes I carry things that, like, I know that it's too much, but, like, I just keep carrying on going and going and going and going and going. Or, like, worrying so much about, oh my God, how did this happen? How would that happen? How would that happen? But, like, when I look back now, I'm like, sometimes you just be like, why did I worry so much? Why did I stress so much? So actually, I feel like I would tell myself, because that's something I've not really given myself, that grace to just rest and not be worried about what next and what next and what next. So actually, I'll tell myself to just chill out a bit. Just chill.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I breathe. One touch feels skinny.
Hi, Faith. Welcome. If you can just introduce yourself, so everyone gets to know who you are.
Fine. Hi, everybody. My name is Faith Roman. I'm a doctor, F1 doctor. Like I said, the right bottom of the doctor chain. So I just started working as a doctor from last year. Is there any other thing you want me to say about myself?
So what school did you go to? What medical school did you go to?
Right. So I studied at Queen's University of Belfast, somewhere in Northern Ireland, if you've been there before.
Yeah, I have been there. I studied at Queen's as well. Interesting experience. We'll get into it another time. Yeah. It's a question everybody got asked, especially before you got into medical school. So what inspired you to become a doctor? The cliche answer is that, oh my God, I just enjoy taking care of people. I have a deep passion, just love it. And also through work experience as well. I mean, it's cliche, but that is it, to be fair. Right from when I was young, I just wanted to be a doctor. And I like the fact that it also encompassed education, because I'd always been interested in teaching. So it was between a doctor and a teacher. And the fact that medicine also gave me that teaching opportunity, I was like, yes, I will go for it. And I've been loving it so far, to be fair. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's a bit different from mine, but the interview is about you. So.
All right. No, I still want to hear that stay.
Okay. So I became a doctor because I wanted to serve. I had lots of interest. But I was more interested in knowing a lot about many things. So I wanted to save lives, number one. But my interest in medicine was quite late. It was inspired by my parents, who are not doctors, by the way. But I got into medicine. I loved it. And yeah, I look forward to going to work every day to make a difference in the lives of people. Yeah.
Fair.
So that was my reason.
I don't look forward to going to work every day, but I look forward to going to work sometimes.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I wouldn't say 100% of the time. It's mostly like 95% of the time. The other times is I'm tired.
Exactly.
So that's the other times where I like, oh no.
Exactly. Like, it's a drag. Why can't I work from home?
Yeah. It's, the end of the bargain we got. Anyway, just wanted to ask, what were some of the key challenges you faced during medical school? And how did you overcome them?
Right. And challenges doesn't have to be study-wise, right? It can just be everything compassing.
It can be everything, yeah.
Right, okay. Because the first thing that comes to my mind was international fees.
Okay, tell me about it.
Exactly. I'm like, well, we just spoke about it, so sure. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind, because like studying medicine as an international student is very challenging because of the expenses that you have to deal with. And of course, we already know, like, even for a home student, studying medicine is already expensive because you have other like hidden costs, like costs within for placements. They move you to different places. They can take you to a very far place. Then as an international student, of course, you're thinking of like the amount of fees you have to pay. Well, thank God for parents. But sometimes you just have to support and you have to walk in between just to support. So yeah, that was one of the challenges that I did experience. Second, another thing where I'll be like, okay, maybe it was challenging. Sometimes, well, I think this was just dependent anyway. It was not a general challenge, but I think it was just depending on the supervisor I had. But like, I did have a challenge with my supervisor, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah. Don't want to go into the nitty gritty details, but I just felt like, he was very undermining in a very subtle way, and I would have sworn he was racist, but oh well. Yeah. So just little things. Yeah. The educational aspect of it wasn't too bad. Thankfully, I did have friends that we helped ourselves and did things together, and also seniors, and especially when you join societies like the ACS then or ACMS that we had and whatnot. So that made the educational side like tolerable or like able to like handle or manageable and so on. So I don't think I really struggled in the educational aspect of things. Well, yeah.
Are you finished with the distinction?
Yeah, I did.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah. It makes all the difficulties, all the challenges, it makes it worthwhile. But yeah, at the time when you're going through challenges, you don't wish to be going through them. So
No.
well, what sort of support did you receive with regards to dealing with your supervisor?
So to be fair, then I mostly ranted to my friend because I think I wanted to clarify with somebody else that it was just not in my head. Or it was not all in my head. So I did, thankfully anyways, it was just mostly during my fourth and final year. And I don't know it was what I was experienced with supervisors, but like I didn't really need my supervisor that much, except during like the meetings that we need to have. I think how many times did I have to meet him now? I can't remember. But 3 times in a year or whatnot, stuff like that. Those ones he would do it, but like everything external, I had to chase him down. So most times I just went to other people to do it for me. Like so whilst you have your supervisor, there are also clinical leads and
that makes sense.
And like Professor Neil Kennedy and stuff like that. So I mostly went to them when he was not getting to me. I just explained like, oh, I'm unable to read my supervisor and things like that. And they were very more than happy to help, and they offered me what I needed. So yeah.
Okay.
But because of that experience, I knew how important a good supervisor is. Hence, when I came here in Barnsley, or when I started, I was just praying, like, God, give me a good supervisor, and I got one. Got a in fact, not a good one, a great one. So supervisors are very important.
I agree. Oh, wow. I can imagine what sort of experience that was. But you need support, especially like when times are difficult. Yeah. Okay. I know you're doing academic foundation training, so you're more into the research side of things and reading papers. But my question is more in line with that, in terms of what's the most significant trends that you're seeing the moment, imagine, in medicine. People say the UK is sort of catching up to America, but where do you see medicine going, especially with the advent of AI and how the field of artificial intelligence is moving at a fast pace?
That's a very good question now. Right.
See, this is why we do the podcast.
I need to give me a warning. Let's see. Now within the field of medicine and AI.
It could be research because it's now looking at personalized medicine, basically. How you can transplant genes and different things. So we're getting to that point slowly but surely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think from experience now, but like, I mean, from experience, no, but like from research, I mean, not part of my medical education research, but from what I've seen people all talking about or whatnot and stuff like that is in terms of like certain implants, brain implants and whatnot. And I mean, I don't know how successful that would be,
Yeah.
but I mean, once it's been spoken about, 100% chance that it's been tried.
True.
Um, yeah, but like, I wouldn't be the expert in commenting much about
Okay.
like on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I asked the question it's because like stuff like bioengineering, for example, like COVID and what happened in China, the rumors that I think it's true. I think it's all bioengineering. I was reading the research before, but like stuff like that, like biohazards, bioterrorism, like that's
Mhm.
what we're having to deal with in the age of computers and technology. But yeah, well done. Difficult one. It's a difficult question. I wouldn't lie.
I'm planning. I'm like, sure.
Okay, okay. Well, the next one is sort of easier if that makes sense. And can you like just let us know like what particular case or medical projects that you are particularly proud of that you would have worked on in the past, if there's any, um, in terms of like what you did in the biomed, the time you were, for example, when you did biomedical sciences, is there any particular project that comes to mind that you can think of?
Does it have to be from the biomed? Because that's like
It could be
agency or
from,
just within and
yeah,
whatnot.
it could be from medicine, it could be from different
Right.
places. Like, yeah,
Fine. Well, this is more on the educational side of things.
yeah,
As you can tell, like I'm into education. But I think, well, I mean, it's a project that has been done in Sheffield, anyways. But like, it will be useful Barnsley or wherever, stuff like that. I mean, some places have implemented it, but I mean, it's just called patient as educators, which is what
okay,
we're well, I will start a project on and try and expand on it. But the main thing, well, we are used to patients coming as we are used to simulated patients and whatnot. Few times they bring real patients, or most times people experience um, diagnosing or taking history from real patients when they have placement opportunities. But in this particular case, is where like we have a bank of real patients, as many as we can encourage to be part of teaching students actually. So they take more of a leading role or leadership role in teaching students. Of course, these people have to be trained
mm,
because there's a way of teaching as per a patient versus making like fellow doctors understand why certain things are important for them to ask. So
okay,
it's so I really like that project because it gives the patients that ownership and that a
okay,
form of leadership and teaching role anyways for them to take charge or take ownership of whatever condition and be able to teach it to the medical students. And I feel like it's to make a big difference anyways. And most
okay,
importantly, being part of that project, aiming that I can bring most people from the Afro-Caribbean
okay. I'm
race because
excited.
like it's very rare. Like when you look at the whole patient bank, or like even
Yeah,
think of it in medical school as well. Like most simulated patients, I don't think there was any like. Yeah, I didn't see a different race. It was more like all Caucasians and stuff like
okay,
that.
yeah,
But doesn't mean that the
that
population
makes sense.
doesn't have these people. So I'm hoping that being part of that project, I can be able to encourage people of other races to be able to encourage them to join and stuff like that. So I think that is where my heart is at the moment, and I feel like it will make a difference, anyways, for medical students, much like doctors. Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense, especially with net migration. Like, for example, the major talking point in the manifestos from the elections last week. I don't know if you voted, but I voted. And I was keeping track of the manifestos because I wanted to know what plans were there for medicine, healthcare, for medicine, business, immigration, and most of the focus was on net migration. So you have
Mm,
a lot of people coming to the UK, and unfortunately, some of them beat the system. They're sending some of them to Rwanda as a deterrent, but that hasn't really worked. So they're mostly housing these people in hotels. So you're going to find that the population is going to become more diverse as the years go by. So it's important to think, what are my patients going to look like? Especially for me going into general practice, it's important to know the demographics of the place where you're working, because it'll help you tailor your services to meet the needs of patients. But yeah, that was a good one. Thank you for answering that. Um, and in terms of the next 5 years, where do you think we might be heading to, like in the UK? And how are you preparing yourself for those changes?
So where the UK is heading to, or where I
Yeah,
am heading
in
to?
medicine. No, in medicine, like where the UK, where the NHS is heading to, in terms of what the plans are, or what do you think your perspective? What's your perspective on the direction of the NHS? And if there's anything, how are you preparing yourself to deal with the changes that will come up in the next 5 years?
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, just picking from what the last thing we just talked about, what you might commented, anyways, in terms of the
Yeah.
migration and how NHS is changing. And it's so true because I work in a DGH, District General Hospital, which is a smaller hospital,
That
and
makes sense.
it's amazing how like all the consultants, like actually there are more people from the like the Asians and whatnot, and even Africans and stuff like that
Okay.
compared to like the Caucasian among the consultant pool. And like
Okay.
this is different. This is not what you're used to. So this
Yeah.
is different, and it's becoming very diverse. So of course the NHS is becoming very diverse, and I feel like maybe the whole thing started from COVID anyways, because there was a massive migration during that time. So NHS definitely become very diverse, which is very good. So you get like, you don't just, even within the doctors, like you see a different pool of doctors and whatnot. Second thing also, like the introduction of PAs. I know it started like just a few years back and stuff like that, but they are becoming a massive impact in the workforce. Don't know how different hospitals take it today. That's another thing, because they're just,
Yeah.
yeah, there are issues. I mean, some places are like, well, yeah, I don't know, but within my hospital, it's just like there's some friction. Let's just keep it like that. I'm happy with PAs. I have no issues with PA. I think it is very settled anyways in America, and they do prescribe in America, and I think that's the main thing I know PAs are pushing for here in the UK. And of course, yes, there's that understanding of like, or like what makes them different from doctors and whatnot, stuff like that. But of course, that's talk. They don't talk for another time and stuff like that. But I mean, there's the introduction of them, and they're very helpful to the workforce in their own ways and whatnot. So that's another thing that the NHS has brought in and whatnot, and people are trying to get used to. Then of course, well, migration goes both ways. Whilst people are coming here, also like most people are also leaving because the system is not really catering for their doctors very well. I mean, they're trying. They think they're trying, or they believe they're trying, but like, and that's why all the strike happens. Crying for pay raise, people going to Australia, people going to Canada. So things are changing, and that's why even a lot of people going to locums and whatnot. So etc. Anyways, these are the main ones for me. Now, what was my plan? So personally, I've always had in mind, anyways, that I don't plan on being in the UK for the rest of my life. I mean, in the interim, because of course I'm just starting my career. So it would be good to have a good grounding first. So, of course, in the meantime, I'm gonna be here. But I think down the line, at some stage, I will consider leaving. Yes, for experience. Yes, but also for a change. Because I mean, I've been in the UK for a very long time now. So Yeah, so I think the main reason I'm just staying here in this moment whilst the whole thing is happening, I'm happy about the net migration anyways. I'm happy about the shifts. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the PAs anyways. I think for me, why I'm just here just because I just started my career and I need to get a good grounding fast before I think of moving
So
somewhere else. Because I mean, I have to sell myself. So.
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Good talking points. Especially on the issue of PA. It's quite a dicey topic.
So that's why I can't go into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the
I mean,
details of it.
I love to talk about it, but I think it's people in senior management that sees the big picture. I don't think
Yeah,
a lot of junior
exactly.
doctors see
No,
the picture at the
no,
moment. But
no, they don't.
what they're doing, it isn't a good strategy. But yeah, and the GMC and the BMA are fighting over these issues of PA.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm hoping
And
to
I think
get
they did a
a
poll as
member.
well. I don't know if you saw the poll or like you answered the poll, but I think there was a poll that was sent sometime maybe last month. I don't know, but it
Yeah.
was just about if the GMC should support PAs as well. They should be registered under GMC and stuff like that. I don't know if you got that poll and whatnot, but yeah. So yeah, there's just a lot of
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Just
interesting.
about
Hopefully, we'll get more information. If I can reach out to people who have a better insight into these things and bring them and just have a chat about these things to
yeah, it
educate
would be a
people.
good conversation because I mean, you rightly said most of the senior doctors, like when I say senior doctor consultants, well, that's what I've noticed from my experience, is the consultants that mostly support them. Most of
Yeah.
F1s completely not. I think I am maybe only the few person, and I know maybe my own experience also is because I also have a PA friend, and
Okay.
when I first started as well, there was just a very experienced PA, and she was very useful and stuff like that. So with all this, I feel like they're very useful and whatnot too, and I can't just. I mean, they're there already, so I can't just keep
Yeah.
them aside or just push them aside and like they don't matter. I mean, they're there already. If it was a case of us deciding whether you bring them or not, then that's a whole different ballgame. But like they're there
Yeah.
already and they're already part of the
That makes
workforce.
sense.
You deal with it. Like you don't just start complaining
Yeah.
and push them away. Like they're there already. So yeah,
Yeah. In some people see them as a threat to the whole training for doctors because I think the whole rationale was to use them to supplement the numbers so they meet the need in the market. So I think that was what they brought them on for. It's going to be interesting to see how they pan out because it looks like doctors are not happy with PAs and one is trying to go for the job of the other one. Yeah, which is interesting because the amount of locum shifts in some areas have gone down over time because
yeah,
the PAs picking up those
yeah.
service type roles.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Like, this annoyed me though. Like, there was something that happened once which annoyed me where it felt like they used the PA to hinder the training of the F1. So, like, in the ED
Yeah,
department, they dumped the F1 to service user role, like service provision role. Then the PAs
yeah,
were the ones getting
doesn't
the
make
real
sense.
experience and the real training. So, in that kind of case, I'm like, that is annoying. That doesn't work because it's like why am I'm the one I'm in training, like why am I just left? If you're giving me experience of the training itself, that's great, but like you're dropping me for service provision and like they're having the real
Yeah,
experience, and in that kind of case it wasn't right anyways, and it was fair to be raised up and flagged. Yeah, and of
yeah,
course
that's
you get reasonable argument and it's fair that okay, yes, you'd be like okay, you went through like the 5 years, sorted out loan, all these kind of things, and somebody else just did 2 years. So like
yeah.
you can understand
It
on
is.
both sides and whatnot. So that's why I said it's a very dicey, it's a very dicey topic.
It is. It is. It is because at the end of the day, people want to protect their own interest.
Yeah,
It's not fair what they do, and
and the
it's
pay as
impacting
well
on
is
training because
another thing too.
yeah,
Because when I had the
it's
starting
people it
salary of here, I
yeah.
was like,
So I haven't read up on their salary if their salary has gone up. Like at the beginning, they earned more than junior doctors F1s
yeah,
starting, but I think their pay sort of stagnates over a
Yeah, I
while.
think that's what
But
someone was trying to argue with me. Well, not argue per se, but she was just like, she gets that our pay sucks. But do I consider like the fact that it can balance out? Because at the end of the day, whilst it starts way higher, they don't grow as much. It doesn't exponentially increase. Like,
yeah,
yeah, but still.
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. We'll see what happens in the next few years. But leading on from that, what sort of advice would you give medical students or people in general thinking of getting into healthcare today? Would you advise them to become doctors or would you advise them to become PAs?
You can't ask me that question now, can you? Oh, Lord. Oh, my Lord. I
Okay,
mean,
I'm not meant to phrase it, but what
I
advice
can't
would you give to
actually.
medical students starting out?
Yeah, I think that's better. Like telling me, like, oh, doctors of PAs. I mean, they can make that decision if they want to be doctors or PAs. And I'll just say they should just go with how the news goes and how the
Okay,
PAs,
what do
maybe
you want? Yeah,
if they finalize them or like if they're proper settled here in the UK and whatnot. I mean, in America, it's great because like it's an established thing there.
mm,
But or like in other countries that is established, but in the UK it's still very shaky at the moment. So if they are really
yeah,
going for it, then they have to be ready for all the shebang and the challenges that comes with it.
uncertainties. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but like to be fair, with all these rules with healthcare, at the end of the day, if you love it, you love it. The most thing is like getting the experience to be sure that you really love it because the job comes, like we said, the job comes with its own challenges. It comes with its own
Yeah,
stiff, with its own. I can't speak again. It is on difficulties and whatnot. But the main thing that
yeah,
keeps you going is just because you enjoy it. Because I thought, like I was saying one time to during an interview, sort of, and I was like, if you ask me what the things we can grumble and say random things about medicine, like, oh, this happened today, oh, this patient, oh,
yeah,
this, but yeah, we still keep going. We don't still stop, we still keep
yeah.
going.
You keep
Because
going
at
for
the end of
more.
the day,
Yeah,
exactly, because at the end of the day, there's just still that passion that's still driving because you just love it. So, whilst you be like, yes, this is tough, this is hard work, this is draining me, but at the end of the day, you love it. So, yeah, you
mm,
just have to love it to be able to really do it. Because you can clearly see that it's not about the pay.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
about the pay. So it's
it's,
not about the money.
it's
I mean, they're earning better in other
yeah,
countries, anyways. So
yeah.
if you love it, you love it pretty much.
Yeah, I think if you love it, it will keep you going on the days where it's difficult.
Exactly.
Um, I wouldn't at this stage, like after medical school, working 5 years and all the challenges with paying international fees and like money and like cost of living. I wouldn't say money is not important. Like money is important even in the careers we find ourselves. Like you're always thinking about your finances. That's the honest truth of the matter. But you shouldn't be doing it just for the money.
Yeah,
There are
if you're
people who
chasing
make
money,
the
it's not
decision.
UK though. It's not UK you're gonna be. So if you're chasing,
No,
like if you're
no.
doing it for the money, it's not UK. Like go to another country.
Yeah, there are other countries with better prospects, but I think also at the end of the day, you have to have a liking for it. You have to have a passion. I'm trying not to use the word passion, but you have to have a drive for it.
Yeah.
And let that drive not be medicine. Let that drive be compassion to save
Mhm.
lives.
To enjoy
Because
the
if you make
patient.
it
Yeah.
about money, you become a very self-centered doctor that makes the lives of other doctors miserable. Yeah.
Miserable. Yeah, and that is very true because like the things that have made the most or that has impacted me the most whilst working as a doctor is actually the encounters with the patients. Those are the things like some days I just like I remember a day like even this patient literally just the joy
Yeah.
in her face for the fact that she saw me and she was so happy and she gave me a peck on my cheek. Oh my lord, I like tears filled my eyes. Like I felt like I'd made it alive. But it was just
That's
this
lovely.
moment of just appreciation. Like I just felt so
Yeah.
satisfied with what like my role as a doctor. So those
Yeah.
are the things that have made the most impact to me. Just making that little thing that I did, but like it made a massive difference to a particular patient. It's amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. It is. My next question was to tell me a defining moment that
There you
shaped
go.
you as a doctor. But there you go. And like it's so true. Like the days that you go to work. I remember once I went to work. It was when I started wearing more nicer shoes to work, basically sneakers with fancy socks. When I started on Dara, like even the little things like the color of your socks, like they will pick up on it. Like yeah, it was mostly the women than the men. The man didn't really give compliments,
Well,
but
yeah,
like, yeah, it's because they're not just patients; they are human beings. They are the relatives of people out there. They have family members that do love and care for them. So moments like that, it makes you like, okay, I made the right decision. It's not just the money alone.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Is
yeah,
that
like you're right, the money is still important
difficult?
because we need to pay bills and take care of ourselves and eat and feed.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I would do
Okay.
it for
Um,
free.
you've done very well so far in the interviews. Still have a couple more
Yay.
questions to ask. It's mostly relating to academic foundation here. What are like the common misconceptions people have about doing an academic foundation training? And how do you go about correcting them? You can give one, two misconceptions that people have towards academic
Right.
F1, F2.
Well, I'm sure. Okay. First thing comes to mind. I'm pretty sure that most people that research into it or are interested in it must have done a bit of research to know that it's not just research. Because I know most time people just like your academia, they just the first thing that comes to their mind is like, oh, research. But there's the educational bit of it. Yes, in the education, the research is not lab research, it's just paper that you're reading. There's the
That makes sense.
research where you're doing
Yeah.
like, of course, there's the dry one, but there's also the lab ones and whatnot, or the clinical ones,
Yeah.
and there's also leadership. So like there are three different branches, leadership management. So there are three different branches of academia that
Okay.
you can go into. So that's one of the main things, anyways. Um, then the second thing is that uh, second misconception. I mean, but this one is it's not even I don't know if it's a misconception, but I think it's also dependent on like where you do your academic like the foundation program. So it is also is surrounding timings anyway. So like yeah, in terms of time and like organization skills and whatnot and how you can manage everything together. But I know different places do differently. So I know that some places they give you a block off. So in your 4 months rotation, there's a whole block committed to magic education. But some places
Okay.
it's every week that they release you from your duty. Don't know
All right.
whichever one you prefer, but I would prefer a block so I can focus on my
True.
education than
True.
doing
That
3 days
makes
in, two
sense.
days out, or 4 days in one day.
That makes sense.
Just models everything together. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I remember one now. Salary,
So.
please. Like yeah, salary.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That is one big thing.
Let's go
Actually,
for
that's a
it.
big one. Yeah. So well, this is a sort of like a tradition, but I mean, in the education bits, your salary drops actually. So
Okay. No fun.
because I mean, there's no on call, so it's just a nine to
Yeah.
five. So your salary is expected to
Yeah.
drop. So this one will be a true, a true belief, a true
Yeah. Yeah.
misconception, but it's an important point to make people
It
aware of that.
is.
Oh, yeah, your salary drops during your education bits because you're not cost. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, locums are still available, so you can always top it up weekends and nights.
You can
And
manage it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you might end up earning more because you're doing locums. So who knows? Just
That,
depends on how
that,
you
that
put
makes
it.
that makes a lot of sense. That makes
Yeah,
a lot of sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you for that. Especially the pay. I always had a feeling like the pay drops, especially like if you're doing 9 to 5. Okay.
yeah. It does. It does.
And what sort of keeps you motivated to continue to grow professionally and personally with the many demands of being an academic foundation training post?
Right. Okay. To be fair, one, I think I already know what I want, and I have that drive for it. So it's kind of like that alone is kind of like that inner drive is just the main thing. But of course, thankfully, also you have supports from like people. Like for me, family is a big support as well in pushing me, because I remember like there were times, this was back in medical school anyway, so like even before I was going to medicine, there were times like I especially when I was getting my rejections. It's just when we're talking about failures and successes and whatnot. The journey has never always been smooth anyway. It's always been very rough and patchy.
I know.
And
I know.
so there are times that it hits you really hard, and to get yourself back up, even though you have that inner drive, but sometimes you just give up and feel like you don't have what it takes. But in those moments, you're grateful for family, or like, oh, my mom that can literally speak right into your ears and right into there
Oh,
and into
wow.
there and make sure that you hear it. So I remember a particular time I was
Yeah.
just like, after getting my rejection from medicine, I was like, I don't want to do it again like this. What's the point? Like, I've tried my best. It's not working. And my
Yeah.
mom was like, no, 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 no. Nobody asked you to. You wanted to do this medicine, so you would do this medicine. But anyways, thank God for
Tough love.
her. Like, yes, tough love, exactly, for her reminding me, because
Yeah.
I think her point was that it's nobody forced me to do it. I was the one
Okay.
pushing myself to do
You
it all
chose
this
it.
while. So
Okay.
exactly. So
Okay.
so she was
Oh,
like,
that's
you
amazing.
choose it, so you're doing it, that kind of stuff. So, and I was great. I'm grateful for that anyway, because I mean, here I am. So there are times that you might just need the encouragement of other people to remind you of why you started something in the first place. So I'm grateful for
100%.
that, and even with the academia bit as well. Like, it's something I'm also fond of singing things that I like to do. And in a sense, it gives me that form of accountability as well, because if nobody knows I'm interested in this, nobody will ask me like, oh, how far this, how are you getting on with it? So it gives me accountability in a sense that people can always check in and be like, oh, are you still pursuing this and whatnot? So
Okay.
I feel like that's why I like voicing out, oh, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, because you don't
Sure.
know who's going to help you push you in or stay in the right direction. That's why I still tell,
Makes sense.
like, even in the hospital, I sit there, oh, like, I'm interested in ops and gyne, because they can easily give me tips that can steer me up in the right direction, so that I don't have to
That makes
suffer
sense.
and find it the hard way, but I can do it the easier way,
Yeah.
or like someone guides me. So I'm also good at
Yeah.
saying what I feel like I want to do, and people are there to
That
steer
makes
me in
sense.
the direction. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story about family. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
important. It's important. It's
Yes.
important. And having that support goes a long way. Like, I've been with support and I've been without support. And trust me, you need that support. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need that support. Yeah. If you had to go back, Faith, like 6 years ago, before you got into medical school, and you were to give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Hmm. Before medical school.
Mm.
Yeah. Before I go into medical school, if I was to give myself a piece of advice,
Yeah, I know what you know
you
now.
know,
What would you have told yourself back then?
I would have told myself, I don't know whether this is a common one, but I actually would have told myself, like, take it easy, like, don't stress. Because I feel like I did stress a lot, like, trying to, yeah, sometimes I carry things that, like, I know that it's too much, but like, I just keep carrying and going and going and going and going
Mm.
and going, or like worrying so much about, oh my God, how did this happen? How would that happen? How would that happen? But like, when I look back now, I'm like, sometimes you just be like, why did I worry so much? Why did I stress so much? So
Yeah.
actually, I feel like I would tell myself, because that's something I've not really given myself that grace to just rest and not be worried about what next and what next and what next. So actually, I'll tell myself to just chill out a bit, just chill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. It takes insights to really like look back and give yourself that advice. And I would say a pro tip is use that advice now. I know you have a lot on your mind and like what is gonna
Honestly.
happen. It's even me speaking to myself. Even now, I've given myself the gift of not worrying about literally. The whole world might be falling down, but once I've done my best and I've prayed, I try not to worry. So try not to think too much about stuff. Like it will all fall in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you need the advice now more
I
than
did.
you needed it
Because looking back, I would like actually I do still need that advice.
Yeah, yeah. You still need the advice, and like you can do
I mean, there are
anything
a
you
lot of
set
things
your
coming
mind to
up as
do.
well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that helps.
What do you say?
That helps.
Sorry, I think you broke that.
I hope it helps. I hope it
Oh
helps.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Last and final question, Faith. Hopefully we'll get to do this interview again more often, maybe in another year's time. But my final question is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today that we haven't covered yet?
um, let's see.
Exciting plans for the future. I don't think we covered that one. The plans for the future.
I think I touched on it tiny. Don't know if it's
Yeah.
exciting, but I just know that it was a plan. I'm actually, well, this is something I've mentioned in the last one of the last things I did, one of the last interviews I did with somebody else, anyways. But I always pride like doing things outside of work. Like for me, anyways, I love like choreography and stuff like that. So I work with youth choreography in my church. I'm a youth leader, and I decided to join the choir again. Don't know
That's
what you
nice.
but I do enjoy it. So like it gives me that form of relaxation, and it makes a massive
Yeah.
difference as well. And I know people be like, oh, how like it's not taking time out of this, but not necessarily. And I've even found a way where those kind of things even strengthens my application even in the career world and stuff like that, because
That makes
in
sense.
my SFP I don't know if I mentioned before, but like okay, actually I did mention before, but like even through my SFP, how I got my SFP was not just because of my career stuff. I added my choreography, I added my youth leader, because that's leadership there as well. That's creativity, that's so many things and stuff like that my career education needs, like medicine needs and stuff like that. So I incorporate it, I bring everything in. So please value other aspects of your life. Don't diminish them for career. So I think that's what I'll end with.
That makes sense. What's SFP?
Oh,
For the
sorry,
for the for the
sorry. Yeah,
audience.
so okay, yeah. So it's specialized foundation program. It's the same thing as the academic foundation program, but they just changed the name to SFP now, specialized. Maybe just to prevent that misconception of academia research. So maybe that's why, but it's specialized foundation program now. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Believe me, this interview has been very helpful to me. More than it is for the audience. I do primarily for myself. I know it's gonna help somebody, but I find like I want to get to help doctors do the jobs that they do and do it better. If there's any way I can improve, then why not? So I get to hear about different people's experiences, and like you said, your advice, like the one your mom gave you, and like the one you give yourself 6 years ago, it's very relevant to me today. There are a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things to juggle, but we'll get there. It's one day at a time.
Exactly.
Like yeah, I recently learned that nobody has life really figured out, so there's no set manual.
No. No.
We're all figuring life as it comes. So
Yeah.
the concept of balance, work-life balance, I like. Yeah, you want to achieve balance in many ways, but there are times like truly in the week, some things will have to give. Like some things take priority during the week. So learning to think about things differently, and like let life happen and let God lead.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So everyone, you've heard from Dr. Faith today. For Johnny to get into medicine, we've covered lots and lots of talking points in this interview. It's more informal than anything else at the comfort of our homes. She got to share a bit of who she was, about her journey to get into medicine, what were some of the challenges she faced, especially with being an international student and fees, what she's where she sees and how she was able to overcome those. She also talked about the advancements and the different things happening in medicine at the moment. We got to talk about different projects that she's worked on in the past, and where she thinks we're heading towards. We had a chat about PAs and the different views of different people. So yes, keep an eye out on the interview, and yes, have a lovely day. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.